This is your weekly report on corruption in the Philippine government. 4 members of the Special Weapons and Tactics team in Pasig City were relieved from their posts amid an ongoing investigation into their presence at a private event of a networking company in the city. In a phone interview Thursday, Eastern Police District Director Brigadier General Wilson Asuta clarified that the involved SWAT members are from Pasig City and not from Batangas Province, contrary to earlier reports. They are currently assigned at the Pasig City Police Station while they are being investigated. It's part of the SOP so we can formalize a report on it, Asuta said. An initial report showed the incident happened about 1 p.m. on the 22nd of June, when the SWAT team's patrol vehicle stopped in front of a bank along San Miguel Avenue in Barangay San Antonio. A woman who was later identified as an employee of a nearby networking firm Prime Z approached one of the team's members, a certain Police Master Sergeant Notch, who was then sitting at the back of the patrol vehicle, and asked him if they can take a picture with the SWAT team as they were holding an event for their opening. The SWAT team accepted the request and went to the lobby of the firm's building where the picture taking was held. They were then invited for snacks at the building's 24th floor, but they refused, saying they needed to continue their mobile patrols. The team provided a contact number to the company for police assistance purposes and left the place. Asuta said the SWAT team was unaware that the photo was posted on social media using the company's Facebook account. There is nothing wrong with that. They were not aware that the picture was posted on the company's Facebook page and somebody commented. There was a misinterpretation, Asuta added. Asuta, however, the city's chief of police was not relieved over the incident. Interior Secretary Benjamin Abalos Jr. earlier ordered an investigation into the incident after his office received pictures of the SWAT team at the company's event. A local government unit employee was shot dead and his live-in partner was wounded during a robbery in Zone 2, Barangay Dilan Perido, Urdaneta City, Pangasinan on Wednesday morning, the 26th of June. Police Captain Ray Floro Tuangquin, Urdaneta Police Chief Investigator, identified the fatality as Bernardino E. Bernardo. Police said Bernardo and his live-in partner Maria Cristina Pereno, 58, also an employee of the Urdaneta City LGU, were on board a motorcycle when they were flagged down by 4 men who alighted from a black Mitsubishi Montero. The suspects declared a hold-up and shot the victims. They fled to Dasingan, Pangasinan. Bernardo was declared dead in the hospital from multiple bullet wounds. Pereno also sustained bullet wounds but is now in stable condition. Scene of the crime: operatives recovered from the crime scene 5 empty bullet shells. Police are conducting follow-up investigation. The Commission on Audit has denied the appeal of Catanduanes Governor Joseph C. Cua and several other provincial officials who contested the 14.8 million pesos disallowance on cash advances used for intelligence and confidential activities in 2012 and 2013. On the 30th of January, 2015, the COA disallowed the use of the funds for IC activities because there was no concrete basis for the computation of the amount rightfully allotted for IC expenses. The disallowance was issued against Cua, Officer in Charge Provincial Budget Officer Nina V. Guerrero, Provincial Budget Officer Lucito G. Pastor, Provincial Accountant Sonia P. Villaluna, and Provincial Treasurer Julieta M. Tessera. The COA said its state auditors found that the annual budget of Catanduanes for the years 2012 and 2013 did not clearly indicate the amount appropriated for the Peace and Order program. Cua was then required to comment on the use of 14.8 million pesos and submit several lacking documents that would support its use. In response, Cua explained that the Provincial Peace and Order Council formulates and implements annually an integrated area community public safety plan, which was embodied in the annual budget of the province. In lieu of POP, he said that there was a clear appropriation of POP in the annual budget because it is commonly funded out of the 20% Development Fund, Calamity Fund, and the maintenance and other operating expenses of the different departments of the province. However, the COA was not satisfied with Cua's explanation. It cited the letter of the Department of the Interior and Local Government dated the 29th of August, 2008, which said that local government units must allocate funds for peace and order if it is considered a priority program. If no funds are allocated for peace and order concerns, it is understood that there is no need to utilize funds for intelligence purposes, the COA said. To determine the amount to be utilized for intelligence and confidential purposes, it shall be based on 30% of the peace and order allocation, or 3% of the annual appropriations, whichever is lower. It also said, In this case, the annual budget of the province for 2012 and 2013 did not indicate any amount appropriated for POP. Following the foregoing view of the DILG, it can be presumed that the province did not see the need for utilizing funds for intelligence purposes. Due to the absence of the allocation for POP, the lower amount cannot be determined because there is no basis for comparison, the COA ruled. The Commission on Audit has affirmed the notice of disallowance for 876,896 pesos given by the Film Development Council of the Philippines to its employees for financial and health assistance during the COVID-19 pandemic. With the ruling, the COA denied the appeal filed by Mary Liza Dino, former FDCP chairperson. State auditors had disallowed the 5,000 pesos one-time cash assistance given to contract of service or job order personnel amounting to 400,000 pesos. The COA said in its post-audit that the disbursements were considered as irregular and cited its circular number 2012-003 dated the 29th of October, 2012. On the other hand, the 476,896 pesos spent as payments to two private medical companies was also disallowed. A COA resolution number 2005-001 provides that the procurement of private health insurance by any government agency or instrumentality is an irregular expenditure and constitutes unnecessary use of public funds. In her appeal, Dino argued that monetary and other forms of incentives were allowed by the Civil Service Commission Memorandum Circular No. 18, Series of 2020. She claimed that the circular stated that the approval of the head of agency is sufficient for the issuance of support mechanisms for employees. She also argued that the circular was intended for all workers to be entitled to the support mechanisms, and that the healthcare assistance given to FDCP workers was necessary in light of the threat of the COVID-19 pandemic. The COA, however, denied Dino's arguments. It said, notably, the grant of financial and healthcare assistance is not clothed with authority considering that it lacked review by the Department of Budget and Management and the eventual approval of the President. With no such approval or authority, the extension of the assistance was without legal basis. Thus, the disallowances are warranted due to the violations made by FDCP when it granted additional benefits and used allotments intended for other purposes without the authority or approval from the DBM and the President, it said. The COA also said, the audit team leader and the supervising auditor are instructed to verify whether the regular employees of the FDCP likewise received the cash assistance similar with that granted to the contract of service job order personnel, and whether the same was improperly charged against other allotments, and to issue a supplemental ND, if warranted. The approving and certifying officials for the amounts of 400,000 pesos and 476,896 pesos have been held solidarily liable by the COA for the total disallowance. They are Dino, Officer in Charge Executive Director 3 Rian S. Rubia, Budget Officer Jose Carlos D. Pasian, Chief Administrative Officer Ermelita Alquizar, Project Development Officer 5 Don Gervin Tiaron, General Services Messenger Juanito Aracana, and Project Development Officer 2 Irish Joy F. Delphin. It was not known immediately what legal recourse was resorted to by those affected by the COA ruling. An official of the Cebu City Fire Station was arrested for allegedly extorting money from an applicant. The National Bureau of Investigation Central Visayas arrested Fire Insp. Roy Matt Castro in an entrapment operation inside a restaurant here on Thursday, the 27th of June. Chief Superintendent Roberto Geneve, Regional Director of the Bureau of Fire Protection Central Visayas, confirmed that prior to the arrest, Castro was the chief of the Fire Safety Enforcement Section of the CCFS. The entrapment operation stemmed from a complaint of a woman who applied to become Fire Safety Officer 1 before the BFP7. The woman, who was accompanied by an officer of the Coast Guard Central Visayas, appeared before the NBI-7 office on Wednesday, the 26th of June. The complainant said it was her third time to apply for the position in BFP7. She alleged that Castro demanded 400,000 pesos from her so that she will be included in the list of applicants who will take their oaths as fire safety officers. After she passed the application process and was included in the final list for oath-taking, the applicant alleged that Castro pressured her to pay 400,000 pesos as per Salamat. Thank you to higher-ups. Video provided by NBI7 showed Castro caught on camera handing over a clutch bag to a woman who then placed a bundle of cash amounting to 200,000 pesos inside. The woman handed the bag back to Castro before the NBI7 swooped in and arrested the suspect. Geneve described the actions of Castro as grave violation of ethical standards and the integrity of public service. The BFP7 condemns any form of corruption and unethical behavior among its ranks, Genev said in a statement. Genev also ordered the immediate relief of Castro from his post at CCFS. We emphasize our commitment in combating corruption and promoting transparency in all our operations. Significantly, the arrest of Fire Inspector Oymat Castro is a clear manifestation of its campaign against corruption as part of the internal cleansing of the BFP, Genev added. Genev said the BFP7 will conduct its own investigation and assured that they will cooperate with the NBI7 and other agencies to ensure thorough investigation and swift resolution to this case. The Commission on Audit has chided the officials of Mambung Town in Sulu over the incomplete documentations of awarded contracts and payments for infrastructure projects, as it lamented that the issues have been a matter of great concern for several years already. Despite repeated demands and follow-ups, they still fail to properly and completely document awarded contracts and other procurement disbursements, COA said in its 2023 audit report on the municipality. Moreover, the required timeframe of submission was not also followed, as required bid and technical documents including requirement for negotiated procurement were not completely rendered to our office, it said. Continued disregard of the laws and regulations would somehow affect the overall performance of the municipality, as the lacking documents are vital and necessary to allow corresponding transactions in audit, it also said. The COA warned that the transactions covered the projects could mature into disallowance if not settled or sufficiently justified. Given the voluminous and complex paperwork involved, COA's audit team said that the existing personnel in charge of the preparation of reports and documents are not enough to complete all the work within the required time frame. Thus, it said, submission is always late. It also said that delayed or non-submission of required documents will also cause delays or non-inspection of completed projects. The delayed completion of infrastructure projects, they said, would deny the people of its intended benefits, it added. In 2023, the COA said that Mambung Town implemented and awarded 14 contracts amounting to 41,419,178 pesos. These included the restorative construction of Istana Darul Jambangan, Phase 1, worth 12,402,893 pesos, the fencing and landscaping of a school zone worth 6 million pesos, the fencing and landscaping at Mambung Higad Elementary School worth 5 million pesos, and the fencing and landscaping of a multi-purpose building worth 4 million pesos, among other things. However, the COA remarked that there were incomplete bid and technical documentation such as plans, pictures, certificate of completion and turnover, bid security, performance security, contract of agreement, official receipts, and progress billing. It reiterated its recommendation for the municipality to exercise fiscal responsibility and be prudent in the utilization of government funds, specifically the Local Development Fund. It also asked Mambung to require concerned officials to immediately submit all the lacking documents and ensure that preparation is in accordance with laws and regulations to avoid disallowance of the subject transactions. Mambung officials had acknowledged the deficiencies and promised to submit all the lacking documents in order to avoid disallowance. 6 persons, including 5 former officials of the Department of Transportation and Communication, now Department of Transportation, have been convicted of graft by the Sandigan Bayan over the irregular purchase of cellular phones worth 5.9 million pesos in 2005. In a 173-page decision issued last the 7th of June, the Sandigan Bayan's 3rd Division found guilty of violating Section 3E of Republic Act No. 3019, the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Former DOTC officials Venancio G. Santidad, Geronimo V. Quintus, Ildefonso T. Patdo Jr., Rebecca Escacation, and Elmira Sanija, and Domingo Samuel Jonathan Ellen, proprietor of the West Highland Beverages distributor. They were sentenced to a prison term ranging from 6 years and 1 month as minimum to 10 years as maximum. They were also perpetually disqualified from holding public office. Former Iloilo 2nd District Congresswoman Judy Jalbuna Sajuco, who was number 1 in the list of those accused, entered into a plea bargaining agreement with the prosecution and pleaded guilty to the crimes of frauds against the public treasury and failure to render accounts. After depositing 5.9 million pesos to the anti-graft court and with the concurrence of the prosecution, Sajuco's plea was granted. She was fined 16,000 pesos, her bail was ordered returned, and her whole departure order was lifted. The court also issued an alias warrant of arrest against former DOTC Assistant Secretary Domingo Arias, who remained at large. The case stemmed from DOTC's 2005 award of the contract to West Island for the purchase 1,482 units of Nokia 1100 cellular phones worth 5,964,859 pesos that were supposed to be distributed to Region 6. The funds came from the DOTC, which released the money in 2 tranches. In its decision written by Presiding Justice Amparo M. Cabotage-Tang, the Sandigan said, the court finds accused bids and awards committee members Santidad, Quintus, Patdu, Caucasian and Sanija's brazen disregard of the explicit provisions of the procurement law, its implementing rules and regulations, and obliviousness to patent irregularities surrounding the subject procurement resulted in the illegal award of the subject contract to accused. It pointed out that RA 9184, the Government Procurement Reform Act, requires that all procurements shall be done through competitive public bidding. Here, it is undisputed that there was no competitive public bidding. The subject's cellular phones were procured through the alternative method of procurement, that is through direct contracting, it said. However, it said, the requirements and conditions for direct contracting set by the procurement law and its implementing rules and regulations were not complied with. The chief of the Calamba police in this province has been relieved from her post due to rising crime incidents in her jurisdiction. Lieutenant Colonel Melanie Martires was ordered to report to the Police Security and Protection Group at Camp Crame in Quezon City. Martires' deputy chief was designated as officer in charge of the Calamba police. Reports said a series of shooting incidents have been recorded in Calamba, including that of a drug suspect, who had just been released from jail, and his 2 companions. Recently, 8 intelligence officers of the Calamba police were charged in connection with kidnapping incidents that occurred in Barangay Parian and in Los Baños. A former policeman who has been arrested thrice for alleged involvement in the illegal drug trade fell into the hands of authorities again in Cagayan de Oro. Seized from his possession were sachets of suspected shabu weighing more than 1 kilo and worth nearly 10 million pesos. His companion was also arrested. Police revealed that the suspect's modus was to leave the package containing illegal drugs on the road, take pictures of the package, and send the images to clients through a messenger application for the clients to pick the package up. Authorities said the former policeman was dismissed from the service in 2017. He was arrested thrice for the same offense, and he was under probation with his last offense. This was also the second time for his companion to get arrested. The 2 are now detained and will face drug charges again. Police Regional Office Northern Mindanao Director, Brigadier General Ricardo Leag Jr., said the arrest of the 2 suspects underscores the continuous efforts of PRO-10 in the fight against illegal drugs. Former Lapu-Lapu City Mayor, who was also former president of Mandawi City's Rural Bank of Sabang Daku, Incorporated Paz C. Radazar, and 18 other former bank officers and personnel have been convicted of falsification of public and commercial documents in connection with 2.6 billion pesos dubious loans shelled out by the bank from 2004 to 2008. In a press briefer, the Department of Justice on Monday, July 1st, said that Radazar and the 18 other accused were found guilty of 34 counts of falsification for conspiring to defraud the bank billions of peso in a decision handed down last the 7th of June by the Mandawi City's Municipal Trial Court in City's Branch 2. The DOJ said also convicted were former RBSI officers and employees Julius O. Uleran, Rosana D. Ibanez, Jocelyn Piaville, Jocelyn J. Vallejo, Eusebio L. Villaba Jr., Roel M. Wenceslao Jr., Patrick Dune T. Quita, Vicente Capuan Lorito, Raquel Milagros Arpaca, Agnes B. Idla, Rosaline B. Baldia, Albert J. Hines, Maribel P. Morano, Rainier Chavez, Honilit C. Pacal, Phoebe Villegat, Resty Carayelambering Collett, and Reynaldo C. Texan. It said they were sentenced to suffer an indeterminate penalty of 1 year and 1 day of prison correctional as minimum, to 3 years, 6 months and 21 days of prison correctional as maximum, and to pay a fine in the amount of 3,000 pesos with subsidiary imprisonment in case of insolvency. A copy of the decision was not immediately available. The DOJ did not state whether those convicted were imposed civil liability. The DOJ said the case stemmed from a complaint filed before the department by the Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation, which conducted an investigation after RBSI declared a bank holiday early in 2009. Account holders of the bank tried to withdraw their money after RBSI's declaration of bank holiday but were too late after the bank denied the same due to alleged lack of financial capability, it said. The DOJ said the MTCC ruled that RBSI officers' personnel made it appear that certain individuals obtained loans from RBSI when in truth and in fact, they never did nor even participated in the preparation of the documents related thereto. The court said the prosecution sufficiently established the participation and probable guilt of all the accused, falsifying several public and commercial documents, it said, apparently quoting from the court's decision. The court also ruled that the defense failed to persuade the court of their innocence by merely denying their involvement in the massive fraud without being backed by clear and substantial evidence, it added. The DOJ also said the court also pointed out in its decision the chain of events surrounding the involvement of all the accused were all supported by tangible proof. This conviction demonstrates our firm resolve to go after those who defy our laws to the prejudice of our financial institutions and the general public, as well, said DOJ Secretary Jesus Crispin C. Romuller in a statement. An employee of the local government unit of Banat, Iloilo was arrested on Tuesday, July 2nd, in a buy-bust operation. The Banat Municipal Police Station Drug Enforcement Unit nabbed the suspect, alias RB, 39, after he sold suspected shabu to an undercover policeman. Seized from the suspect, classified as a high-value individual, was 10 grams of shabu worth 68,000 pesos. The Iloilo Police Provincial Office lauded the Banat MPS for arresting drug suspects who are working in the government. We are committed to continuing our relentless efforts until all those involved in the proliferation of illegal drugs in the province are arrested. We shall strictly enforce the law without fear or favor, said IPPO Director Police Colonel Bernie Razalan. 3 people, including a policeman, suspected to be involved in illegal firearms sale were arrested by the police in an entrapment operation in Taguig on July 2nd. The Southern Police District Special Operations Unit conducted the operation on Acacia Street in Barangay Sembo. The police identified the arrested suspects as alias Bobby Lewis, female, 28, alias John, 34, and alias Gary, police officer, 34. According to the police, an informant reported the alleged illegal activities of alias Bobby Lewis and her cohorts in Makati and Taguig. The operation led to the confiscation of an M16 rifle loaded with 30 pieces of live ammunition, Glock 17 Gen 4 pistol with an Armed Forces of the Philippines logo with 17 pieces of live ammunition, an Arms Moravia gun loaded with 10 pieces of live ammunition, a motorcycle without a plate number, 3 mobile phones of the arrested suspects, 2 1,000 peso bills used as marked money, and a Philippine National Police ID under the name of alias Gary. Police operatives used body-worn cameras and alternative recording devices during the operation. Based on the verification by the police, Gary was previously arrested in 2021 for alarms and scandals. The arrested suspects were brought to the district's Special Operations Unit and will be charged for violation of Republic Act 105-91, Comprehensive Firearms and Ammunition Regulation Act. The Sandigan has convicted for graft and malversation of public funds 15 former officials of now dissolved government-owned and controlled corporations that acted as implementing agencies, as well as 2 members of non-government organizations tapped as project partners in bogus livelihood projects supposedly funded by the pork barrel of a former Misamis Occidental lawmaker, who remains in hiding. The case was based on a complaint filed by the Office of the Ombudsman on the 20th of July, 2016. Finding probable cause to indict the respondents for 18 counts of violations of Section 3E of Republic Act No. 1319, or the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, 11 counts of malversation through falsification, and 7 counts of malversation for the alleged diversion of PDAF funds to ghost government programs. In finding them guilty of graft, the Sandigan said the prosecution was able to prove that a scheme was designed and executed, causing undue injury to the government when the accused made irregular disbursements totaling 51 million pesos in multiple transactions. The anti-graft court also noted that the transfer of PDAF funds to KKAMFI, AFPI and Kasanggasa Magandang Bukas Foundation Incorporated, the 3 NGOs endorsed by Clarit for her supposed livelihood projects, violated the Commission on Audit rules on accreditation and project proposal requirements, among others. That's all for this week. I'll see you next week with more stories of corruption and foolishness within the Philippine government.